different chemical compound. Now, when we think of men and women as different chemical compounds, this is, by the way, very true. This is why we go to great lengths in Torah Judaism to keep men and women somewhat separated, is because if you put the chemical compounds together, there's a flash, there's a big spark, there's a lot of heat, there's intensity. But if we're kind and wise to ourselves, we know that that intensity is not actually very helpful. Like, I'll give you an example. We've got a table right here. So I'm going to put one chemical compound on the table, and I take another chemical compound and I throw it on. They're very reactive. Guess what? Makes a great explosion, but it's not so good for the table. It's not so good for the table. And that is the reason that the men and women are attracted to each other, is we're opposing chemical compounds that have this potentiality to ignite and to have fire. But this is the strange thing about fire, is that a great big hot burning firework is really amazing for how long? 2 seconds, 3 seconds. That's its maximum effect. When you want to start cooking and making a beautiful curry or soup or something, you need a fire that burns for a long time. And one of the problems that I guess we come across in many areas as people come to us, is say, the fire, the passion that was there in the beginning of our marriage, it's changed. So many kids later and different jobs later, it's different. And I try to remind them that you've moved from exploding compounds in the laboratory and seeing how that works out, which, by the way, is very exciting and very interesting. But now we take on these long-term projects of long-term cooking. The fire has to be different. It doesn't mean that you don't sometimes need to turn the gas up and to increase the heat of the flame, but now we have a new perspective that requires a lot more fuel. Because now we're not just exploding things on the table anymore. Even those explosions have to be done in the context of the controlled experiment that we're doing. Now, there is also an element of the fact that really, when you don't know each other so well and you're not so sure how the compounds are going to react together, there's a lot more interest to see, right? The scientist is a lot more interested to see what happens when they mix these two unknown compounds together than the same compounds that they mix every single day. And that's the other side of the coin. You can have a lot of great output with that, but you know what you're dealing with. You don't want the marriage to fall stale and repetitive and boring. At the same time, you need a certain stability in order for the long-term project. Now,
well, because Jonathan, because when you have people can't always help with the amount of fire they put out.
Right.
Right? Like sometimes
it's 80%, sometimes it's 20%.
Sometimes it's 20. Sometimes you have a massive bonfire, and sometimes you only have the light of a candle.
Right. That's the thing, is we're very much like the waves. We fluctuate, and people experience waves of inspiration in their religious life, in their work life, in their married life, and things like that. And the main goal of the marriage is to keep the candle burning, because you can always add more fuel, but if the candle goes out, that's it, right? So that's the
intensity of that fire might differ, right? But the important thing is that we have a flame.
Yeah.
When we have a flame, we can do things. Sometimes we might be barbecuing steaks, and sometimes we'll be roasting a marshmallow, right? As long as you have the flame.
Why would you do that? Why would you try to barbecue with a candle?
You're not. You're roasting marshmallow.
Okay, why would you do that?
Because that's what you've got.
Okay, fine.
That's what you've got. Sometimes that's all you've got, and you use what you've got. You utilize and appreciate that flame. Right, so we'd like to open up if anyone has any questions. I'm going to stop.